OpenAI has presented strong evidence suggesting that China's DeepSeek AI used OpenAI's models to train a competing system. Essentially, OpenAI is accusing DeepSeek of extracting knowledge from its models to enhance its own AI. This is a major development, especially given DeepSeek's reported performance and cost efficiency, which have sparked significant reactions in the stock market. This is a significant development because it opens up the possibility of OpenAI suing DeepSeek for alleged intellectual property theft. One major piece of evidence circulating online is a screenshot showing DeepSeek mistakenly identifying itself as a model developed by OpenAI. This suggests that DeepSeek may have been trained on OpenAI's outputs. If that's the case, it would mean DeepSeek absorbed OpenAI's responses, including references to its own origins. If DeepSeek were an entirely independent model, it should correctly identify itself as being created by its own developers rather than OpenAI. In many instances, DeepSeek's model has referred to itself as being developed by OpenAI, which doesn't look good given the current controversy. However, DeepSeek recently updated its responses. If you ask it now, it will claim to be developed by DeepSeek. Previously, though, it identified itself as an OpenAI model, likely because it was trained on OpenAI's outputs. OpenAI has also stated that it found additional evidence suggesting that DeepSeek, a Chinese AI startup, used its proprietary models to train an open-source competitor. This raises concerns over potential intellectual property violations. What OpenAI is essentially accusing DeepSeek of is model distillation. In machine learning, this process involves transferring the knowledge of a larger, more complex model, the teacher, into a smaller, more efficient model, the student. The student model learns by mimicking the teacher's outputs, capturing the intricate knowledge patterns the teacher model has already learned. In this case, OpenAI is alleging that DeepSeek used this method to replicate its AI capabilities. OpenAI itself has used model distillation to refine and optimize its AI systems. They have taken highly advanced internal models, possibly GPT-5 or another model codenamed Orion, and distilled their capabilities into smaller, more efficient models like GPT-4o. This process allows OpenAI to offer AI services at a lower cost while maintaining high performance. Jonathan Ross, CEO of Grok, has pointed out how DeepSeek leveraged a similar distillation process to rapidly advance its AI capabilities using OpenAI's models. The idea is that if a powerful model already exists, you can have it generate training data, then use that data to quickly bring a new model up to the same level. That's exactly what DeepSeek is accused of doing. While DeepSeek reportedly spent around $6 million on training, a significant portion of its efforts went into distilling or scraping OpenAI's models. Essentially, OpenAI was unknowingly subsidizing DeepSeek's progress by providing high-quality outputs that DeepSeek used to refine its own AI. DeepSeek's model training process appears to have unintentionally benefited from OpenAI's outputs. Since DeepSeek was using OpenAI-generated data, it essentially leveraged OpenAI's resources while OpenAI itself may not yet be fully profitable, particularly when it comes to API usage. While subscription services might generate revenue, OpenAI reportedly incurs losses on each API token generated. This means that every response OpenAI provided was costing them money, while DeepSeek was using that same data to improve its own model for free. When you think about it, that's a pretty wild situation. DeepSeek was essentially gaining high-quality training data at OpenAI's expense. The article further explains that model distillation, a technique where smaller models improve by learning from the outputs of larger, more capable ones, is a common industry practice. However, the key issue here is that DeepSeek allegedly used this method to create a direct competitor, which would be a clear violation of OpenAI's terms of service. The most shocking part of all of this is just how blatant the situation appears to be. OpenAI has chosen not to disclose specific details of its evidence against DeepSeek. While OpenAI's terms of service clearly prohibit using its models to develop competing AI systems, the real issue here is the lack of transparency in how OpenAI is presenting its case. There's a strategic reason for this secrecy. If OpenAI revealed too much, DeepSeek could adjust its systems and cover its tracks. A good example of this is how DeepSeek previously referred to itself as an OpenAI model in some responses. Once that detail became public, DeepSeek quickly changed its output so that it now consistently identifies itself as a DeepSeek model instead. This is an important piece of evidence because if DeepSeek had truly built its model from scratch, it should never have mistakenly identified itself as an OpenAI model in the first place. However, DeepSeek may argue that their AI was trained on a wide range of internet data, which could include references to OpenAI, making it difficult to prove outright misconduct. Since OpenAI's models are widely discussed and referenced on the internet, some of its content naturally appears in publicly available text. This means DeepSeek could argue that any OpenAI-related information in its training data was simply part of general web-scraped content, not direct copying. However, David Sachs, the government-appointed AI czar responsible for overseeing AI policies and regulations, recently commented on this situation. In an interview, he suggested that it's very likely DeepSeek used this exact method to replicate OpenAI's model capabilities. A key technique in AI, known as distillation, plays a major role here. It allows one model to learn from another by repeatedly querying it, much like a student asking a teacher questions to understand concepts. The difference is that AI can do this at an extreme scale, asking millions of questions to refine its responses. Through this process, a smaller student model can effectively mimic the reasoning and output patterns of a larger, more advanced parent model, which is what DeepSeek is suspected of doing with OpenAI's technology. Distillation allows a smaller model to extract knowledge from a larger, more advanced one, and there is strong evidence suggesting that DeepSeek did exactly that with OpenAI's models. Naturally, OpenAI is not pleased with this, and in the coming months, we're likely to see major AI companies taking action to prevent third parties from using distillation techniques to replicate their models. If they succeed, it could significantly slow down the development of copycat models. OpenAI's terms of service explicitly prohibit using its outputs to create competing models. And since DeepSeek is a direct competitor, this could put them in serious legal trouble. Additionally, OpenAI's policies forbid any attempt to reverse engineer, decompile, or uncover the underlying components of its models, algorithms, or systems. If DeepSeek has indeed done this, it would be a clear violation of OpenAI's terms, potentially opening the door for legal action. If OpenAI decides to sue DeepSeek based on these allegations, it could set a major legal precedent. The article highlights that using outputs from commercially available AI models, like ChatGPT, to train new models is a common practice among startups and academic researchers. A PhD from UC Berkeley pointed out that this method allows companies to benefit from the extensive human feedback that models like ChatGPT have already received. Given this, it's not surprising that DeepSeek might have taken a similar approach. However, enforcing a ban on this practice would be incredibly challenging. How can OpenAI distinguish between someone casually using its AI for personal queries versus systematically extracting outputs to train a competing model? Placing stricter rate limits or access restrictions could make OpenAI services much less useful for developers, putting them in a difficult position.
Today and over the last couple of days, I've been reading about China and some of the companies in China, one in particular, coming up with a faster method of AI and much less expensive method. And that's good, because you don't have to spend this much money. I view that as a positive, as an asset. So the release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries, that we need to be laser focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world. Even Chinese leadership told me that.
A notable case from March 7, 2024 involved a former Google engineer who was charged with stealing over 500 confidential AI-related files while secretly working for two Chinese companies. Given this track record, the idea that DeepSeek could have taken advantage of OpenAI's publicly available outputs to build its own model isn't far-fetched. Amid all of this controversy, an interesting shift seems to be happening, which adds another layer to this already complex situation. Some people argue that even if DeepSeek did distill knowledge from OpenAI's models, OpenAI isn't in a strong position to complain. This is because OpenAI itself has been accused of questionable data collection practices. Recently, OpenAI allegedly deleted critical evidence in a training data lawsuit, which has fueled skepticism. Essentially, OpenAI is accusing DeepSeek of copying its data, but critics are pointing out that OpenAI originally built its models by scraping massive amounts of publicly available internet data without compensating the original content creators. So the question many are asking is, how can OpenAI accuse others of stealing data when it did something similar at a much larger scale? Adding to the controversy, OpenAI engineers reportedly accidentally erased key evidence in a lawsuit related to its training data. Whether intentional or not, this incident has raised concerns about transparency and ethical AI development. Meanwhile, DeepSeek's performance has been gaining attention. One of the most interesting benchmarks is the LMSYS chatbot arena, an independent evaluation where users blindly compare responses from different AI models. Users enter a prompt, receive 2 anonymous responses, and rate which one is better. Over time, this provides an unbiased comparison of different models. Surprisingly, DeepSeek is currently tied for first place alongside ChatGPT and Google's Gemini, suggesting it is a strong competitor. However, on more reasoning-focused benchmarks like SimpleBench, DeepSeek's performance shows some inconsistencies. This benchmark evaluates human-like reasoning skills with questions that should be easy for a person to answer, such as estimating how long it takes for ice to melt. The human baseline for these tasks is about 85%. But DeepSeek's R1 model has scored lower in certain areas, highlighting some weaknesses despite its strong overall performance. This entire situation is a whirlwind of controversy, ethics, and fierce competition in AI, and it will be fascinating to see how it unfolds.